This story is called The Horse Doctor, and I had to take out my note. I took it from a book called Storytelling for Young Adults that someone had sent me, a friend, one of my colleagues. And I love this story. I love horses too. There was once an old woman who lived in a little cottage all by herself out in the country. She had a small kitchen garden, a few hens, a cow, and an old horse. Oh, but how she loved that horse. She would sing to the horse. She would talk to the horse. She would put her arm around the horse's neck, put her face up next to him, and tell him all her troubles. And even though he couldn't reply, she was sure he understood, and she found comfort in telling him her secrets. Well, it just so happened that one day she noticed that the horse had stopped eating, and he wasn't galloping around the pasture, and he spent the day with his head hung down. And she was so worried, she called the veterinarian, and he came to examine the horse. And when he was finished examining the horse, he said to the old woman, "I can find nothing wrong with the horse that I can help him with, but you know, this horse is very, very old." And he went on his way. Well, the horse continued to fail. And one day the woman remembered there was a new minister at church, and he had told the congregation that he would help anyone, anywhere, anytime, with any problem they had. So she went to the minister. Now, the minister was a very young man, and he said to the old woman, "I don't know an awful lot about animals, especially farm animals. I grew up in the city, and all we ever had was a cat." But he saw how distraught the woman was, and he went to see the horse. He opened the horse's mouth and looked inside and went, Then he put his hand on the horse's forehead and went, He walked very slowly around the horse, touching it very gently on its flanks. And then he took the horse's face in his hands and he said, "You poor creature, you sure are sick. Well, if you live, you live. If you die, you die." And he went on his way. Well, it seemed like overnight. The horse was galloping around the pasture, eating again. The woman was delighted. Could the minister have performed a miracle, she wondered? Days went by, and word spread that the minister was very sick. He had an abscess in his throat that was growing bigger and bigger, and it was cutting off his breathing, and the doctors didn't seem to be able to do anything for him. So the old woman went to pay him a visit. She went into his study, and there he sat in a chair with a blanket around his shoulders and his mouth open and his tongue kind of hanging out. And the old woman looked at his mouth and she went, She felt his forehead and she said, She walked carefully around him, touching him very gently on the shoulders. She took the minister's face in her hands and she said, "You poor man, you sure are sick. Well, if you live, you live. If you die, you die." And the minister, remembering those were the exact words he had said to her horse, he burst out laughing. The abscess in his throat broke, and all the poison drained away. And in days to come, the minister was well. Well, the minister never claimed to be a veterinarian, and the woman never claimed to be a doctor, but they had helped each other, and they became the best of friends for many, many years to come. And that's the horse doctor.
Wow.